No gaping for the camera today. She's really in the mood to explore, climb, and perch up high. So no gaping this time for the camera. But anyway, this is Bowsie's Vlog. This is Bowsie the Bearded Dragon, and I'm her owner, SonicBlu. And today I decided to talk about something that has been mentioned before in one of my other videos, and that's keeping your bearded dragons hydrated. What is the best method to use to keep your bearded dragon hydrated? Well, since they're reptiles and lizards don't really drink the same way mammals do, per se, on a normal basis, you pretty much have to provide the necessary fluids for them to intake. If they don't take in fluids on a regular basis, which doesn't mean like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, that's not the cycle that a reptile would usually drink. Reptiles can, especially desert reptiles, can go without drinking water for a matter of days. But they draw the moisture in from the foods they eat rather than the water that they would drink, if that makes any sense. Stuff like bug larvae and insects and plant life all contain moisture, water, fluids, stuff that will keep them hydrated as they eat. So bearded dragons won't tend to drink like normal mammals, and we got to keep in mind these are not mammals, these are reptiles. Reptiles need to be classified differently when you raise them. But let's just say that it's been a long while since your bearded dragon has had a decent drink. And usually they will tend to drink when they feel the thirstiest, and then they'll go into the water bowl and they'll start licking up the water. Bowsie does this once in a while too, and she knows when she wants to drink and she knows when she doesn't want to drink. Every morning she gets plenty of fluids in the foods that she eats and the foods that I provide, the omnivore mix that I mix with water, and she gets her intake of water that way. She keeps hydrated as she eats. Other times, if she gets thirsty and she really wants a good dose of water, she will go to her bowl and start licking up in some of the water. Or she'll start swimming in it, or what have you. Sometimes she'll gape her mouth open and I can drip some water onto her tongue when she's in a bath. That's another good way to keep them hydrated. But whatever it takes, your bearded dragon needs water. Maybe not always to drink, but if you feel that your bearded dragon hasn't had enough to drink, one of the things that you can do is whenever you give your bearded dragon a bath every other day or every 2 days or however often you bathe your bearded dragon, just remember a rule of thumb: if the water is really hot or really warm, chances are they're going to gape their mouths open, and that's when you can take driplets of water and just drop it on their tongues, and it's already gotten in their mouths anyway. They can't just spit it out, so they can get their hydration that way. Their bodies, their outer bodies will get hydrated. Stuff like this here. This is a squirt bottle. This is a very specially designed squirt bottle just for misting bearded dragons, lizards, reptiles of any kind. And look, it's got little lizards all over it too. And what this is a method of keeping your lizard hydrated, and we're talking bearded dragons, so let's keep with the subject of bearded dragons. This will keep your bearded dragon hydrated. No other chemicals will go into this bottle but water. Nothing else. No calcium, no vitamin water, no vitamin enriched water, no juice, nothing like that. Only water will be going into this container. Now, if you don't have one of these, do look for one online if you plan on getting a bearded dragon, because you're going to need it. If you don't have one of these, a misting bottle will work too, and it's one with a pump on the top, and the bottles come like this size and like this, and there's a pump on it with a hose that runs out, and you can mist them that way. And the whole point of misting a bearded dragon is to basically keep them hydrated on the outside, and chances are if you hydrate them on the outside and they get moisture on their nose, they're going to lick off the droplets. You hydrate their food, chances are if they're still hungry, they're going to eat it with the water on it. So they will get an intake of water not just by drinking it, but also from the foods that they eat and the water you provide. If your bearded dragon has not had any hydration, there are some telltale signs when your bearded dragon starts to show the signs of being dehydrated. The first and main key point to look for is their eyes. Are their eyes sunken? If their eyes are sunken inward, that means that they're dehydrated. You need to get them some hydration fast. And if they seem kind of sick, you just look at their eyes. Their eyes will tell you how hydrated they are. If they are normal, and I'll give you a close-up if Bowsie will allow me to. Would you like to have a close-up on the camera? Look how this is normal for a bearded dragon's eyes, if you can see. See how it protrudes out a little bit? That is normal for bearded dragon's eyes, if you can gauge that. And if they're sunken even the slightest bit, get them some hydration, because they will need to take in some water. If your bearded dragon refuses to drink or refuses to eat foods that are enriched or soaked in water, or if they just reject any kind of attempts to get water to them, there is another solution you can use, and that's to get a syringe. And once again, resorting to the food syringe sometimes helps. Get a food syringe, fill it with water. What you're going to do is you're going to pry their mouth open and gently push down the plunger that pushes the water into their mouths, and allow them to, just a little bit at a time. You don't want to, put the whole thing in their mouth. You're not trying to drown your bearded dragon here, but just a little at a time. Let them ingest the water you give them, and then give them some more, and then some more, and then let them take that in. And about maybe 3 or 4 hours later, do it again. And 3 or 4 hours after that, do it again, until your bearded dragon has plenty of water, and their eyes may start to show improvement after a few days of this treatment. If you have to resort to force feeding them water, there's got to be something wrong internally that does not give them the desire to drink or eat or perform normal activities the bearded dragons would perform. And that's when you need to take your bearded dragon to the veterinarian at your earliest convenience. But while you are treating your bearded dragon for dehydration, give a few days, give them some water as much as you can and as much as they can take in, and then note the improvements, if any. And if there are improvements, then that means that there is a chance that they will become healthy. They'll bounce back from it. If it doesn't look like anything is improving, their eyes are still sunken within, I'd say, a week. If you don't see any improvement in their eyes, you don't see an improvement in their schedules, in their behaviors, if they're still lethargic, if they're feeling ill, that is when you have to take them to a licensed veterinarian, one who specializes in exotic pets. That's what you got to do. And fortunately, Bowsie has always been a good drinker. Yes, you have. And what really blew me away was one time, and now it's anecdote time. The first time I saw Bowsie drink from her lagoon, I was getting worried that she wasn't getting enough water, and then I realized that every single morning I give her omnivore mix, and I mix it with water. So she does get her water in her omnivore mix, and that's why she doesn't drink as often, because she gets a lot of moisture in the food she eats. She gets a lot of moisture from the larvae she eats, and the worms and the bug larvae and all that stuff. So she gets plenty of hydration. And she gets baths regularly, and she gets misted regularly. So I keep her pretty hydrated. And Bowsie's never really shown a lethargic side, or at least any side that tells me that she's being dehydrated. But one morning I was, kind of getting worried, because I was wondering if all of that treatment was enough to keep them hydrated. And then we realized these are desert creatures. They're from an environment where water is scarce. So they're going to be, lizards in the wild, especially bearded dragons in the wild, are not going to be used to running to an oasis to drink up on water. They're going to get the moisture from, like, the air the precipitation that's around them, the plant life, the bug life. Anything that contains moisture and retains moisture, they ingest it in the foods they eat, namely the bugs and the larvae, and of course the greens. And if on some morning where there's dew sprinkling on the greens, they will lick the dew off of the leaves. Same thing with if you keep plants in your bearded dragon's terrarium. If you miss the plants, they can lick the water off of the droplets off of the plant leaves. However it takes, there are many different methods to keep your bearded dragon hydrated. And I kind of sideswiped my anecdote, didn't I? Because there's so much to talk about in bearded dragon care. And yes, Bowsie wants to cuddle. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean to, so go ahead. No, she's going back to her original position. She wants the shoulder. She doesn't want to cuddle. She wants to climb. So, yeah, I have to gauge what Bowsie wants and letting her do what she wants, so that way I know exactly where she wants to be put, and I don't want to, put her in some place she doesn't want to be. So she wants to stay right up here for some reason. And she keeps gravitating to this particular spot. I don't know why. I think maybe it's the sound of my voice is stronger over here because this is where the microphone is, and so I have no idea. But anyway, anecdote time. The first time I saw Bowsie drinking from her bowl, her lagoon, which I call, because it's a really big water bowl that she can go inside. She could duck her head under. She could swim. She does that a lot too. Sorry, baby. I was moving my arms. I did not know it was going to make you jump. But anyhow, she'll usually go inside of her lagoon. It's a big water bowl, and she'll duck her head in. She'll bounce up and down in the water, and she'll scratch at the bottom of the thing. Basically she does that to if she feels irritated, especially during a shedding. She'll go in there and she will try to knock as many of those loose scales off of her. And at times when she's not shedding, she'll still do that out of habit and because that kind of activity makes her feel good. So she hydrates herself when I don't mist her. And then, you know what? Sometimes even when I missed her, she'll still go into her lagoon and swim around a bit. So, she loves water. She loves the water. Absolutely adores it. So one day I woke up and I had just talked with my ex-roommate, who now lives in Utah. And we had Bowsie together. We raised her together. We fed her together. And so now he's in Utah and I'm out here in PA. So he says that bearded dragons usually don't drink from water bowls. They just soak in water bowls. And that he has never seen a bearded dragon actually drink out of a water dish like a dog would. Well, the very next day, not even one full day had passed since he said that, Bowsie was in her bowl, and not only soaking in her bowl, but also lowering her muzzle down to lick at the water like a dog. So I filmed it, and I sent him the video, and I said, your assumption of bearded dragons not drinking from water bowls is wrong. Look at this. And he was like, okay, I'll shut my mouth now. I will shut my mouth now. There you go. Bowsie actually drinks from a water bowl. Bearded dragons can. But not many bearded dragon owners are that lucky. So this part of the series is dedicated to keeping your bearded dragon hydrated as best as you can. Now, you might not be able to get them to drink from their water bowl, and it's not a very common practice for bearded dragons to do so, because usually they use their water bowl to soak, to help with irritation, with helping to shed their loose scales, whatever the case may be. And it also helps to give them a regular misting with a specially designed bottle. I'm going to touch on this subject a little bit too, but there are many different methods to get water to your bearded dragon, not just giving them water in a water bowl and letting them have at it. That's what you would do with a dog. The dog knows what water is. The dog knows how to drink. It's not because your bearded dragon doesn't know how to drink from a water bowl. It's because they're not used to drinking from a water bowl. And, these are very intelligent creatures. And once they figure out how to draw water in, they will get it. But if they don't drink water on their own, or if they're not given enough hydration from misting, from bathing, from the foods they eat, then there could be something wrong internally that prevents them from the desire to get water to their systems. And that's why you really need to watch carefully and note the telltale signs of lethargic behavior and also sunken eyes. That is your number one key point there, is watch for the sunken eyes. And if they are sunken, Get your bearded dragons some hydration quick. It doesn't matter how you do it, but get it to them quick. Get it inside their mouths as quickly as possible. Whether it's getting the food syringe and force feeding it to them, or getting them in a very hot environment where they start gaping and then just drop water droplets on their tongue. However it takes, do it. Get water to their system, into their mouths. Get them to ingest water. And then give them that treatment, see where it goes from there. And if they still refuse to drink after a few days, and the eyes are still sunken, if they look worse, call your veterinarian immediately. Because there's something wrong internally that you're not aware of, that bearded dragons cannot really tell you, hey, there's something wrong with me, I don't feel good, there's something wrong with my internal system. And they can't tell you that with body language. So you have to be able to determine that in their behaviors and then take them to the veterinarian. They will be able to determine it through their equipment. So that's why they're licensed veterinarians. They know what they're doing. But all aspects, if you do own a bearded dragon and you do keep them hydrated, chances are you've got a healthy bearded dragon on your hands. And if you don't, well, just pay particular attention to the telltale signs first and identify what might be the problem. If they're just not drinking, they just don't feel like it, or they just don't know the water is there, give them a misting, see if they can lick the droplets off of their nose, give them a bath, see if they start gaping, and if they do, drop some droplets onto their tongue. If you got a food syringe, use that. And of course, if they haven't eaten yet, give them some food and squirt some water on it, and they will lick the droplets off of that, or actually eat the food with the water on it. I've gone over keeping bearded dragons hydrated, but I have not yet explained the makeup of this particular bottle and why it is for bearded dragons or lizards or reptiles in general, and why it is a misting bottle. It's not just a spray bottle. It is a misting bottle, mainly because the nozzle has a misting option where you can actually spray a very fine mist of water onto your bearded dragon. Now, it's preferred to use the finest mist possible, mainly because large droplets of water are going to hurt the bearded dragon. They are either it might strike their eyes, it might strike them in a certain way where it might hurt them. So you really need to use a fine mist spray. And if you cannot find a bottle in the stores that have never been used for any other chemicals, what you will need to do then is find a way to set it to the finest spray possible. If it's still too uncomfortable for your bearded dragon, start investing in one of these. Look around on Amazon, eBay, a pet store might have these, or whatever the case may be, but it has to be a fine misting bottle. And that will ensure that your bearded dragon will feel comfortable in getting their daily mistings or their bi-daily mistings, however often you mist them. Sometimes it's 3 days, 4 days, however time they need before their next misting. Just make sure that it is a very fine mist, because comfort is everything in your bearded dragon, especially the way you mist them. And this particular bottle does have a very fine mist setting. So if you are in question as to whether or not your spray bottle does in fact, or will in fact, if you are buying one in the stores, I would actually hold off and get one at your pet store, or find one online that is specially made for reptiles. You'll save a few bucks if you went to the store and just bought a brand new spray bottle, but like I said, you're better safe than sorry, and spend a few extra bucks to get something that actually does produce a fine mist. You really don't want to go for a cheap bottle, because chances are it doesn't have a setting on it and only one setting works, and that's usually a heavy spray. And that's something that doesn't really sit well with bearded dragons. They don't really like heavy raindrops falling on them, so they really wouldn't like heavy droplets of water falling on them from a spray bottle, especially being blasted against them. Because you got to understand too, we can tolerate it because we're humans. Mammals can tolerate it because they're bigger. These are little delicate creatures here. So, of course, you know, we can take a spraying from a regular spray bottle, but these are bearded dragons. They're a little more delicate than we are. So you got to treat them delicately. So get yourself a fine mist bottle. It'll do you and your bearded dragon a world of good. If you have any further questions about bearded dragon behavior, bearded dragon care, feel free to ask away. Ask me anything that is on your mind. Chances are I've been through it. I know how to handle it. I know how to walk you through it. But do get in touch with me, because if there's any consolation, your bearded dragon is very well worth it. That's pretty much a wrap. So for Bowsie's Vlogs, this is SonicBlu and Bowsie the bearded dragon, who has now gone to the other shoulder now. I don't know what it is with that particular spot, either on the left side or the right side, that you love so much, but what do you say we do a proper goodbye, because I'm pretty sure they want to see how beautiful Bowsie's face is. There you go. Hi, Bowsie. You gonna gape for the camera? You gonna gape? Say hi to everyone. Say hi, Bowsie. Hi, baby girl. Well, she's just staring at the little blue dot on the camera, so yeah, she likes her lights. So anyhow, from all of us here at Bowsie's Vlogs to all of you out there, good luck with the care of your bearded dragons. And if you suspect that your bearded dragon is lethargic in any way, sick, ill, or even dehydrated, contact your local veterinarian, one who specializes in exotic pets. They will help you along and to ensure the longevity of your bearded dragon's life. So from all of us here at Bowsie's Vlogs, with Bowsie and me, SonicBlu, her owner, we wish you good luck on the care of your bearded dragons. You're not going to gape, are you? No? She's not going to gape.